Kylian Mbappé just tied Lionel Messi for the Golden Boot, and he did it by embarrassing a team that had every reason to be dangerous.
That's not the headline you're getting from anyone else covering this right now, and it should be. Let's set the scene, because the last 24 hours completely changed how I see the rest of this tournament. France walked into their round of 32 match against Sweden and didn't just win, they dismantled them, 3-0. Mbappé scored twice, 6 goals for the tournament, same number as Messi, same exact number, at the exact moment everyone's asking whether Messi's farewell run is destiny or fairy tale. That's not a coincidence you can ignore. Now here's where it gets interesting. While Mbappé was doing that, Brazil were sweating through 95 minutes against Japan. 95 minutes. It took a last-gasp winner from Gabriel Martinelli just to keep their World Cup alive. Think about that. Brazil, 5-time champions, tournament favorites on paper, needed a stoppage-time miracle to get past a team most people had written off before kickoff. That's not dominance, that's survival. And there's a difference between the two that people keep pretending doesn't exist. And then there's Argentina. The analysts are already calling their bracket the hardest realistic path to the final in the entire draw. Every team with a higher ranking they're supposed to beat, in order, all the way through. No easy nights, no cushion. Messi is the greatest to ever touch a ball at this tournament. 18 World Cup goals, the all-time record. But even he can't out-dribble a bracket that's stacked against him from here on out. So look at what we actually have. One team cruising, one team surviving, one team staring down the hardest road in the competition, and Mbappé sitting right at the intersection of all three storylines, level with Messi, about to face the team that just eliminated 4-time champions Germany. Let's talk about why this matters more than a stat line. Golden Boot races aren't won in the group stage, they're won in the knockouts. When the games get tighter, the goals get harder, and the pressure filters out anyone who isn't peaking at exactly the right time. Mbappé isn't just scoring, he's scoring against elite opposition, in matches that matter, with zero signs of fatigue. He put 2 past Sweden without breaking a sweat, and both goals came off the exact same move. Olise finding him in behind, Mbappé finishing with 1 touch. That's not a striker riding a hot streak, that's a striker who's found another gear heading into the part of the tournament where gears matter most. And he's found a partnership with Olise that's now delivered 5 assists across the tournament. That's a pattern, not luck. Now compare that to Messi's situation. Scaloni rested him late in the group stage. Smart, responsible, protects the legs of a 39-year-old for the games that count. But it also means Messi hasn't had a rhythm-building run of matches the way Mbappé has. And now Argentina's staring down the toughest bracket in the draw. Every round, in theory, against a team ranked higher than the last. That's not the recipe for padding a goal tally. That's the recipe for grinding out 1-0s in penalty shootouts where the only thing that matters is survival, not statistics. Nobody remembers Golden Boot numbers from a team that ground out 3 consecutive 1-0 wins. They remember the results. And that's fine for Argentina's trophy case, but it's terrible news for Messi's individual chase. And Brazil? Forget the Golden Boot conversation entirely for a second. Brazil's problem is bigger than any individual race. A team that needs a 95th minute winner against Japan is a team that is 1 bad bounce away from an early exit. Ancelotti's side has the talent to go all the way, everybody knows that, but talent that needs a miracle to survive the round of 32 is talent that's living dangerously. If they play like that again against a knockout stage opponent with real quality, they're going home. And when Brazil goes home early, it doesn't just remove a name from the bracket, it removes one of the only teams that could realistically slow Mbappé down to the final. That's the part nobody's connecting yet. Brazil's shaky form isn't just their problem, it's Mbappé's opportunity. Here's the part nobody's saying out loud. France's next opponent is Paraguay, the same Paraguay that just knocked out Germany. Everyone's framing that as a danger game for France. I don't see it that way. I see it as exactly the kind of match that's been fueling Mbappé all tournament, a physical, well-organized underdog that sits deep and dares you to break them down. Sweden did the same thing for a half. Mbappé broke them down twice. There's no reason to think Paraguay stops that pattern. If anything, they're a worse defensive matchup for him, not a better one. Germany's backline was more organized and more experienced at this level than Paraguay's was, and Germany still couldn't contain France's front four in warm-up friendlies this summer. Paraguay beat Germany on penalties after a controversial VAR call bailed them out in extra time. That's a team that got dragged to the finish line, not a team that dominated. Mbappé against a side that just survived by the skin of its teeth is not a nightmare matchup. It's a green light. So here's my call. Mbappé wins the Golden Boot outright by the quarters. Not the semifinals, not a tiebreaker on assists, outright. And I think it's not particularly close by the time we get there. Messi finishes as arguably the better story, the all-time leading scorer, the fairy tale farewell run, but Mbappé finishes as the top scorer because the two players are heading into completely different levels of resistance. Mbappé's road runs through teams that leave space in behind. Messi's road runs through a bracket engineered to make every single game a defensive battle. You can be the best player at the tournament and still not be the top scorer if the games in front of you refuse to open up. That's exactly what's happening to Messi right now, whether people want to admit it or not. Now, I'll give you the one thing that breaks this prediction, because I'm not going to sit here and pretend this is bulletproof. If Argentina gets a favorable draw shift, if one of those higher-ranked teams stumbles in an earlier round and Argentina inherits an easier matchup, Messi comes back from his rest with something to prove, and this whole thing changes fast. Messi with a point to prove and a soft matchup in front of him is still the most dangerous 45 minutes in football. Full stop, no debate. That's the scenario that flips this. Everything else lines up for Mbappé, but bracket chaos is real, and this tournament has already proven. Germany's out, the Netherlands are out, that nothing is safe. If the draw opens up for Argentina even slightly, throw this whole prediction out and watch what Messi does with room to work. Brazil's the wild card that decides how loud this conversation gets. If they survive their next knockout test the way they barely survived Japan and they run into France somewhere down the line, that's must-watch television. But it's also the one matchup that could actually slow Mbappé's pace if Brazil's backline tightens up under real pressure. Ancelotti's got the personnel to fix this. The question is whether he's willing to make the changes after a win, because coaches rarely overhaul a system that technically got the result, even when the performance behind it was shaky. Keep an eye on how Ancelotti sets up defensively in the next round. That tells you more about Brazil's ceiling than anything from the group stage did. And it tells you more about whether Mbappé's run to the Golden Boot has one final obstacle standing in his way or a clear runway all the way to the final. One more thing before I let you go. Watch what happens to the price boards and the pundit consensus over the next 48 hours. Right now, the conversation is still stuck on Messi as the presumptive Golden Boot favorite, purely on reputation and that all-time scoring record. That's going to shift, and it's going to shift fast the moment people actually sit down and map out both brackets side by side the way we just did. I'd rather be early on this than right with everyone else 3 days from now. So that's the call. Mbappé, outright Golden Boot winner by the quarters. Messi's legacy intact, but the trophy for top scorer belongs to the guy who's been finishing chances against elite teams, while everyone else is either coasting or surviving. Tell me I'm wrong in the comments. Genuinely, if you think Argentina's bracket flips in their favor, or you think Brazil finds another level, say it below, because I want to see the case for it. Next up, Paraguay versus France is going to tell us a lot faster than people think.